Go7 king of the game. I believe in you, that's what it'll say. Nice and kind, leading cobalt ice. He's a blue, cute, and deadly little guy. Seeing through the fog, old gods he's slain. Go7, 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 Go7. Go7, 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 Go7. Go7 king of the game. I believe in you, that's what it'll say. Nice and kind, leading cobalt ice. He's a blue, cute, and deadly little guy. Seeing through the fog, old gods he's slain. Go7, 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 Go7. Go7, 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 Go7.
Alright, let's turn down the music. Is my mic picking up the music? It looks like it is, which is very weird. What did happen to my mic? Mike, what are you doing? Did that do anything? No, that's still messed up. I feel like an owl was outside. Did that work? I went with the good old unplug it and replug it. How is the mic doing? Sounds better? Better. Okay. I don't know what happened. Okay. Mike is being a rebel. You don't know what happened either, but blame me. All I did was unplug it and replug it, and then it's all fine. It's just like Advanced Wars by Web. You know, if there's a problem, you just refresh the page. It's exactly the same. Trying to pay you a visit? I just compare my mic to Sonya HP. There's lots of little things that the refresh can deal with, you know. There's like the capture, the lingering capture icon, there's stuff showing up in force as revealed when it shouldn't be and stuff like that. Got Jess versus Adder. It looks like it's high funds, is that right? Yeah, 4K each. I streamed twice last week, didn't I? I just didn't stream on Friday because I got smacked in the face by a student at while I was at work. So I was like, you know what? I'm taking the rest of this day off. You've had fog creep over your bases recently and not let you build. I don't I don't know how that happened. Your bases should provide you vision. No. The student's not gonna get in trouble. It's an accident from being what would you call it? Overstimulated kind of thing. It's just a risk of working in the field. Does your phone to reopen and refresh fixes it? Yep. Refresh works magic. Happens to your little brother sometimes, yeah. Doesn't mean it doesn't hurt though. Am I gonna ask what the purpose of the B boats are again? Oh, this map. What is the purpose of these black boats? You can repair with them. You can just move through them because they're yours. I guess they help defend your own base. No worries, Mega Man. Defend the bases. How does one deal with medium tank spam in Global League? You lost a game where you felt you couldn't keep up with the tech up. Well, you can always like go a tech above and go to neo tanks. You can also rely on artillery pretty heavily. No, it's probably there. Yeah, you're right. It's probably there to protect them base from being cheesed by a Sturm. You're right. That's probably the reason. Oh, and I did play in I'll start soon. On Sunday, I played in a simul as a participant rather than the person doing the simul. It was a Chloe box. We played a Max versus Sammy game. I could bring that game up, I guess, if people are interested. But we'll go through this game first. Okay, so it's Jess versus Adder in high funds with one comm tower per player. I still think Adder's probably advantaged here, just because Adder's going to be able to give the speed boost to the air units and all the infantry and stuff. Where Jess is going to be very limited to just those ground vehicles really benefiting from her powers. Oh my goodness. Adder's going straight into a Neo tank. The new movement Deegis is trying to spread the advanced words by web community. I don't know what that is. Free grit? I was preaching free grit before it was cool. Ooh, okay. 13 Anonymity 13. Hey, Shadow. Has also built a Neotank. So Neotank per Neotank. Very weirdly, they both built it on their one base side. I would have thought you'd be like, oh sure, if you want to start a vehicle fight on the two base side, I'll fight you on the two base side. But especially because it's two base airport versus one base airport. Oh, okay. And then we're going to go into rocket plus artillery. Well, I wouldn't necessarily recommend a rocket in response to a Neo tank, because now you're tasked with just having to protect this rocket a lot. And rockets are really annoying in that you can see they have the extended minimum range. So if you have stuff like just blocking right next to it, the rocket doesn't actually protect it. But this will be okay because you can block like here as you're walking towards this city. It's a little awkward. Got the medium tank, but this does make sure the rocket's okay, and the rocket does protect these infantry. Now well, not with a medium tank here, but if the medium tank wasn't here, then if Adder was Andy instead, there could be a play where you have your Neo tank just take out an infantry, you get a shot, and you just heal up later on. It would be a very cheeky kind of maneuver. Okay, more Neo tanks. Got a mech. Okay. I assume this is meant to be a combat mech because all of the properties it could go for are already being gone for. So we'll see if that mech gets any work done. Jess, I guess, is technically a little bit worse at fighting mechs because her infantry are weaker. Hey, Himena. So we're going to take this central position with the rocket. It does guard these 3 properties, which is pretty nice, but it doesn't really deny any properties from the opponent. If it could reach like the comm tower or something, then that would be something really nice. It does protect the medium tank from this Neo tank. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know if it protects it enough though. I mean, Neo tank plus tank. If it just kills the medium tank, then it might be fine. I guess the infantry blocks are a little intimidating. Either way, DragonScale does not want to get involved in anything like that. And Neo tank artillery seems to be enough to deter any strike that would interrupt this comm tower. Now, there's not a ton of infantry over here, so it is possible that DragonScale could have denied the comm tower forever, but it's usually a better idea to not go for really dangerous trades. And just if you could deny it forever, then you might be able to just take it, which is usually going to be a better way to go. It would take a lot of planning to like go in there, let your Neo tank get shot by an artillery and a Neo tank, just so that you can try and deny the comm tower forever. It would also give you a ton of charge. Oh, okay, I'm not quite sure. Oh, 13 Anonymity 13 did do a base skip here, but I'm not quite sure what changed for DragonScale here as to why they're suddenly feeling more comfortable going in with a Neo tank strike on the medium tank here when it's a worse position. Because before the Neo tank could have attacked from the forest and then have the tank here as the follow-up. I feel like if you're going to do this attack, should have just done it last turn. Although, when there's a base skip here, I can understand when to put on the pressure. Neo tank's alive at 1. The infantry might finish it off. Oh. It survives. Now, Neo tanks are pretty worthwhile to preserve and repair. Especially because in high funds, it's usually a surplus of funds in comparison to how many units you have. So if you can keep this alive and just repair it up, you'll be pretty happy. Looks like we're going to stick with a bunch of medium tanks here. For some reason, this Neo tank goes and attacks this infantry and dies. I would definitely have preferred if it went back onto this city to repair up. Just have your tank take out their medium tank. Like so. And then you'd have this guy healing up to 3 and then 5. You know, like you can go back further if you'd like. But it's a lot better than trading it in to do 1 damage to an infantry. We do have the Jess bomber, which on build helps protect this Neo tank, which is always something you want to see. Anytime you can get units affecting the field the turn they're bought, you're really happy. But it looks like DragonScale did manage to find a free city here. There's no units in range to interrupt this unless Jess uses the normal power, which we might see, and then the tank can strike here. Get an attack in here though. Neo tank kills recon. Copter plus Neo tank takes out medium tank. This is in range of a Neo tank medium tank if DragonScale uses the power, which I would assume. The bomber is ready to interact though. This is going to come down to... This fight is going to come down to how well can DragonScale keep this anti-air alive. It's pretty interesting that Jess decided not to use the normal power there. It wouldn't matter too much for like this engagement, but it would preserve this city, which is nice, and it would also increase the defense for these units. Which might matter a little bit. Wow, that's a little gutsy. With the fighter, that's a super dead fighter. Ooh, it's a very nice placement by Anonymity here. The battlecopter is within this anti-air's range if it uses a Jess super, so that's pretty good. Got some nice body blocking to try and keep the fighter alive. So right now, it looks like just a 5 health Neo tank can hit this anti-air. Fortunately for DragonScale, we're going to have the extra defense. But even so, quite a lot of damage can be done here. Bomber can be used with some support to take out a unit. Pop goes the tanks. Okay, I think just takes out Neo tank. Bomber plus what? Tank reach? No. Ooh. 5 health Neo tank. Here goes down to 1. Yeah, I guess it must have been forced to go that route. You'd really like to take out the anti-air and the fighter here. Very, very weird to build the Neo tank up here, because if a Neo tank is built here, it like immediately interacts with this engagement. So infantry reinforcements are very scary. I can only imagine this is a response to this Neo tank. You don't need to have a response up there. A Neo tank from here can also respond to that. Bomber gets hit. Ooh. That's the power of a Jess super against a non-powered up at our medium tank. The tank is like, I'm not going for that swing. Well, yeah, the meter builds really fast in high funds, so that means that Adder can potentially just do constant normal powers forever. The rocket is nicely placed to take out this anti-air, which is love to see. Wow, nothing interrupted this capture. Okay. The clean steal away from Jess here. Although Adder's still ahead in by just a bit. Well, that's a pretty decent Jess swing. Well, Adder didn't actually have a power active this turn. No bonuses to firepower this time. Medium tank is taken out. Artillery's getting destroyed. I'm not quite sure why the bomber is hanging back here. I probably would have sent it in to take out this artillery. You'd really like it if this 1 health fighter went after your bomber, because then you get to kill it off and you don't have to deal with a 1 health fighter being a blocker anywhere you don't have an anti-air. Because that's just how it's going to be more annoying rather than striking anything. Right now, Jess is looking really nice. Adder goes in the Sidewinder and the supers. It does give +2 movement. Unfortunately, no further follow-up, so the artillery just gets to bop one, and these Neo tanks are on some pretty unhappy terrain. There's the fighter being annoying. Okay, so it just doesn't have the super yet. We'll probably get the super, and then this Neo tank will get +2 movement and have enough range to bop an opposing Neo tank. This one too? No. This one could rush down here if it really wanted to, though. Okay, anti-air sacrifices itself. I don't know if that was necessarily needed. That's okay. There might have been some other attacks that could have gotten Jess player there. Like pretty much all of the air attacks I'd be pretty happy to go with without the power active, because they're just getting the +10/+10. They don't get the movement or the super extra firepower and stuff that the land vehicles do. Oh, this didn't capture. Okay, so there's no real threat of losing this comm tower here. Very nice unit value lead here, about 2 turns up. There's still a fight ongoing, so it's possible that Adder's able to make up for that, but quite a nice lead to have. I do like how Adder is making sure to fall back with these attacks, go after the furthest exposed units, so you draw the fight closer and closer to your production, and make your opponent overextend. But even so, at the end of Adder's turn, still down like 30, well, more like 20k, which is real rough. And now the income is swapping and losing the lead there. Comes the rocket to join the fight. Go for a nice capture. We're going to go for a Jess fighter. Okay, well, I guess it is a decent response to the Adder bomber. I really like how safe this anti-air has been placed. It's way in the back, but it's still covering everything. It could be like a tiny bit further back. It's possible that Adder could dive for it, but it's probably not worth it because you have to dive. You like hit a bunch of infantry, and then the rest of the stuff gets you. Okay, I think it's okay to trade the 4 health medium tank for essentially what's going to be a 4 health Neo tank. Down goes infantry, down goes the mech. I'm not quite sure why this infantry just took a step to there. Usually you'd place it somewhere that would stop your opponent from striking you from a tile that matters. Like maybe you go into this forest so that the Adder Neo tank can't strike you from the forest or something like that, without having another vehicle come by and clear out a 1 health infantry, which is just like massive overkill. Not quite sure why we're attacking that copter. I guess with the fighter backup, it's comfortable. It looks very negative, net negative to me, because this copter doesn't want to fight anything over here. There's an anti-air. There's an anti-air covering that stuff, so this just kind of gives it a target. Has anyone tried to move Advanced Wars onto a hexagonal grid? There's definitely other hexagonal turn-based tactics games. The biggest problem you're going to run into if you went with a direct comparison of Advanced Wars from to a hex grid from a square grid is that walling becomes almost impossible. So you'll have to change all the like combat values for the units to basically make them more durable, but it's a little awkward to do that. It would be an arty buff. Pretty sure. Maybe it wouldn't be. Hey, Sneaky Dragon. Okay. Yeah, but the biggest thing would be not being able to wall anymore. Because if you have a bunch of hex in a row, a bunch of units on hexes in a row, to make like a flat wall, each unit has 2 tiles to be attacked from. The fighter being used to block his anti-air, it doesn't quite work. The anti-air just kind of kills that profitably. Okay, so Adder managed to get a pretty good swing in there. Almost evened up. Well, I guess slightly got ahead in the unit value, which is way better than being behind by like 20,000. But it does also mean that a lot of stuff had to become exposed. So we'll have the counterattack here from Jess. He's also going to be threatening to take the comm tower. Fighter zooms on in, bops a copter. Aggressively placed rockets, but that's okay. There's nothing really that wants to hit the rocket, or if it does hit the rocket's on the city and survives, so it's fine. DragonScale has resigned. GG. Yeah, hexagonal grids work kind of well with zones of control. You can play the old General series, or the somewhat new Fantasy General too, and experience hex grids. I don't think anyone showed an interest in watching the Sammy vs. Max game from the Simul, so we'll just continue with the what Go7? Oh, I participated in someone else's Simul on Sunday against Chloe Box. I can bring the game in. You see your name? Go7 forgot about a secret weekly activity. That's true, I did. That was a fun match worth showcasing. Okay. We'll cover it quickly. Look at that. Chloe Box was so kind as to choose Yellow Comet against me. The simul match that is. Okay. So the way that this works is Chloe-Box is currently playing against about 7 other people, or 6 other people. I'm like the 7th person that came in late because I didn't forget about time zones. And so Chloe-Box is playing constantly, taking turns and then swapping over to the next game and taking a turn and swapping over to the next game. And all I have to do is make sure that I have my turn done by the time that Chloe-Box comes back to my game. So I chose Sammy because I think Sammy can try and exploit some time pressure stuff, but also it should be the easiest CO to kind of beat up on when you go max, which is what I expected Max to either go. I expected Chloe to either go with Max or Olaf because they're the easiest COs when you're playing live in tier 2. This map overall isn't amazing for Sammy, but it's not the worst. I mean, there are some mountains to make use of, but there's a pretty wide section that's a lot of open terrain that Max can kind of just one-shot Sammy's stuff on. And there's kind of a gap in the number of properties, so there can kind of be a stally stuff going on there, but it's okay. But we'll hop into it. So I'm not 100%. I didn't map out the opening at all. I'm not familiar with the map, so I was like, I guess I'll go for this city first, and then it'll give me a nice early wave of infantry to march forward and try and contest the one base's properties without falling too far behind in income. Mega Man Zero, I agree that we need to fix the fog. The fog glitches when you're watching them. That's true. There was no capture limit and there was no day limit, which isn't great. And I'm going back. 1 second. Drink some water. I'm going backwards with this capture because I want to get the airport pretty quickly. Maybe I'll go T-copters depending on how much pressure is being put on me. Or maybe I'll just use battle copters to help supplement my force and try and keep my unit count somewhat durable. So with this capture here, I'm not really thinking I'm going to finish this well, I'll finish this capture, but what I really want to do is stop this city from getting captured. And I went with the APC buy because I thought the T-copter would be too slow. And it might pressure the one base into going for a tank. If it goes for a tank, then I can just complete this capture and the APC will pick up this infantry, drop it off here. Or here. Where is it dropped off? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, it drops off here so that the infantry can then go for this capture. If Chloe-Box doesn't build a tank over here on the one base side, and instead goes for this capture, I can then interrupt with this infantry strike, still have enough health to get this city in 2 turns, and I have a surplus of infantry here that can just capture this city. You never quite understood the point of having one of your cities be a free capture in enemy territory. It forces infantry to go for it. Risk a mini income lead. Can lead an early tank. Are you talking about the backward cities that are free captures? Usually that stuff's done just to get the map reaching a certain income level at the time that the map maker runs. So here I'll bus on down here. Chloe-Box decided to go more on the aggressive side of things, which does make sense as Max. And builds the tank on the 2 base side, but that does mean this 1 base side is very vulnerable, especially because this follow-up infantry that was just built went off over here to get these captures. That means there's no one supporting this guy. So I can just walk on down, get the classic Sami 8-5 trade. And if you don't know, fun fact with Sami, if your infantry has 7 or more health, it can capture a city in 2 turns. Or, oh, you're talking about the FT. Oh, you're talking about the first turn advantage cities. That's just a balance thingy. It gives exactly 1,000 funds to player 2. It's an attempt to balance the economic advantage of being player 1. Okay, so the APC is in range to go into this forest on the next turn to boost this mech to here, so they can then move forward to cover my city capture on the following turn, and I can just build another mech to hop into the APC. And then after it's done protecting the city, it can then move on to the mountains. This little mountain chain. It gives 1,000 because player 1... Oh, player 1 usually has a... I guess you're right, that does give 2,000. Usually, I've seen it with player 1 gets an infantry. Player 2 starts with multiple infantry instead, and then player 1 starts capturing and finishes capturing that city first. So slightly different in this case. There's probably a little bit of advantage to player 2. I'm not sure though. That's something to ask the map committee about. There's a little boost. And now I'm going to be forced to start building tanks to try the Chloe Box tanks. I didn't realize this in the game, but Chloe Box actually had to base skip to get this other tank. And here comes the mighty mechs. I wanted to get these central cities really quickly because it's kind of difficult for me to get into the center with foot soldiers having to move across shoals. It's very vulnerable to just getting one-shotted by max vehicles. So I wanted to get these cities very early so that I don't have to try and take them once Chloe Box has more of an established force here. You see Chloe Box goes for the strike over here. I could have gone for this city instead, which would not have given the beneficial terrain of the missile platform for this tank to attack from. But I was worried about then having trouble getting this city because then this infantry finishes the capture over here and is free to interrupt with a buddy. And if 2 units strike, then I don't get the city. But as long as just 1 unit strikes, then I can still get the capture due to being Sami. So now I'll just try and pressure this tank out of here. Unfortunately, there's not quite enough forests over here for me to put the mech right here, which is what I would like to do, because the tank could just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and hit my mech. So unfortunately, have to be way back here, which means that these guys are free pickings for a tank, such as their sacrifice for going for the early central cities. But this will start getting really annoying for Chloe Box to deal with, because once the mechs get these like mountain ranges to bounce around on, the vehicles really don't want to engage. The copters will be still a pretty decent threat though. Okay, do some more mech boosting, and then we'll just kind of start moving forward with a group of mechs, get the anti-air to help deal with the copter, and I'll just kind of ditch in the middle now that I have these 2 captures. You can see how much more difficult it would be at this point to go for these captures once Chloe Box actually has tanks out on the map. And here I'm a little bit worried that there can be some shenanigans that might deny my comm tower, so I'm going to move back and have some striking forces ready. While also getting close to my mech production on that side. As you can see, there's quite the attack force coming in from Chloe Box. But this does mean that the one base side, which I do have a lot of units bearing down on, is going to be rather weak. And there's also like captures going on over here. Oh, and this capture was slowed down because I did that attack over here, and now I can more permanently interrupt it. So I think Chloe Box probably should have just moved the tanks over here to try and stop me from going from this attack, which denies income from Chloe Box and also gets Sami infantries going for captures on these cities. And while Chloe Box can probably get some captures over here at the same time, it's going to be at a slower rate as I've already started these, so I can start investing in more defensive forces to try and protect these cities. Go Sami, only CO with lethal powers. Okay, so we have this really cheeky line. This is trying to make the most use of Sami's ability to, of course, get those captures. So as long as only one side is available to be struck, I'm gonna get this comm tower. So this mech kind of has to be here, otherwise there's the chance or the opportunity. Chloe Box, or at least I think there is. Maybe there isn't. And I could be under a lot of pressure being down the possibility of a comm tower. It would make me very sad. So we're not going to let that happen. We'll just be very compact, right by the production. So if Chloe Box ever attacks over here, I'm going to have a huge reinforcement advantage. Quite the overextension. Yeah, Chloe Box is going to be a little sentimental with these low health infantry. Okay, and the medium tank gets bought over here. Now a medium tank is pretty good against mechs and infantry. It'll pretty much just one-shot them all. But it's also a very expensive unit, while the foot soldiers are very cheap. So it means you have to get a lot of kills. Also, attacking on this tank is a little bit questionable because it unlocks this copter from having no targets to getting to take out the tank, which is nice. So, the medium tank is definitely going to fight off this army. It's just a really expensive way to do that, which can leave the rest of the map a little bit vulnerable. It's going to have to kill a lot of foot soldiers to pay for its cost. And so I have a lot of time to prepare, and I'm just going to use that rather than trying to match medium tank to medium tank. Pop. Who's a mech? So yeah, I'm just going to leave. Do manage to save all these cities. Of course, I'm not going to be able to do too much in the middle. So Chloe Box gets this capture. Probably over defended it a little bit because, I mean, blocking this infantry from interrupting makes a lot of sense, but you kind of want, like, my tanks to go forward and get just kind of eaten alive by the max vehicles. So Chloe Box is going with the strategy of get really strong in the center, and then anytime I make a front too weak, just kind of move over and crush it. I'm going to go for a bunch of infantry strikes. Try and maintain, because right now I have a 21 to 18k income advantage due to denying the city and getting both of these. So even though I lose this one, hunky dory. And I can just kind of bring in some mech support. Try and dissuade the max tanks, because there's not enough vehicles here to both deal with all of the mechs and deal with all of my vehicles. So it should, in theory, force the max vehicles to kind of back off, like so. Because even if they go for a strike on my tank, the mechs will just just take them out. And if they attack the mechs, then the tanks can take them out. This is me getting a little too greedy. Like I was like, well, I'll probably get the kill. I definitely should have double timed first to make sure I get this one health infantry kill. So so far the medium tank has killed a mech and an infantry, so it's killed about 4,000 in value. While costing 16,000. But it is up unit count wise in those exchanges. We're going for the double time here because I get a bunch of nice infantry attacks. And I'm up in income, so I would really like it if I can maintain these captures and just kind of keep the income as is. If I can push max back enough over here and get this city, that would be good too. Get the max force in response. Kill off the infantry, go for some tank strikes here. I don't have another double time, otherwise this will be a little bit scary. It's a little bit questionable to go for this copter hit, but I guess this copter can already reach here. It's more that this anti-air can reach here. We're hit on the mech. Take out another mech. That's now at 7,000 value. And you'll see I'm kind of just ignoring the mech or the medium tank and going for the attacks anyway. Just because the units it's fighting are so low in value. The things I want to stop it from attacking are things like that. Keep bringing those mechs to the field. ABC's done a lot of transporting. Okay, so this is just to try and make it pretty expensive to go after this artillery, because you have to use maybe it's not even possible. No, you have to use like a 9 health tank or something to kill off this guy. Maybe the 3 helicopter can do it. Well, it probably could with the 5 health. Copters be going in. It is entering into the overextension into my own anti-air area. You can see, or my own airport area. But the anti-air does get to survive the turn. Very good news for me. Definitely a bit of an overextension here. The medium tank ended up being forced to just hit a 4 health infantry. It's the big old overkill, as is the way. This is a little bit of a mess up on my part. I thought I could get a complete surround on this medium tank, and then I realized it's not actually doable because this copter can always get +1, or yeah, I can get +1 move to move here and strike whatever I would block with here. Like, so we have a little bit of a half trap. We do have the max force used here. And as long as these fights aren't absolutely devastating me. As long as I'm going basically even, I'll be happy because I am up 3k in income. Poor mech. Again, this is another case of there's this phrase in Magic the Gathering, which I barely play anymore, but it's called keyword bad, and that's what's happening here. It's the value of these units is so much worse than the attacking forces that to send them over here actively weakens the rest of the fight. A half trap is just a wall. It was 2 walls. It was on either side. The outrageous, this was an outrageous infantry strike. Just 2 damage to the tank. And then, okay, now the medium tank does kill off a tank, so it does find a juicy target. But now it's within bomber range of the airport. And that's never a safe place to put one's medium tank. Yeah, and there's no anti-air with this attack. It's been picked off. Fluffy will always build more anti-air, yeah. Yeah, the medium tank does get a unit count reduction. That's true. It's like net 3 unit count, which is pretty good. Yay! Power of the APC is down to 7 fuel. Yeah. The medium tank is trapped. Bomber just gets built. I have a power active, so I have extra defense. This is a nice block by Chloe box, so I can't just interrupt. Let's capture with an infantry. And here's a use for low health units. They're very nice for traps if they can't be interacted with by anything else. Now Chloe box could free the medium tank, but it would have to be like tank kills 1 health infantry, 5 health tank sacrifices in the mech, full health tank hits and kills the mech, and then the medium tank is still gonna get trapped into the bomber's range. You can't get away. The tech is a little gutsy to keep going into just because the anti-air is still lagging behind so much. APC beyond that cross-country tour. I know it doesn't even get attacked here. It's just durable enough that the max tanks can't kill it. And then the medium tank decided to kill the mech rather than the APC. Which does make sense. You don't want the mech just smacking one of these tanks. Yeah, I refueled the APC. It's now down to 1 fuel. And now it's at 22k income versus 17 at this turn. So we're going to build a medium tank because this kind of puts Max in a bit of a pickle. The medium tanks are very good at beating up anti-airs, and the anti-airs are here to deal with the bomber. But the bomber can help protect the medium tank. Slow response to the medium tanks. The box does bust through here. It's artillery. I get to again take advantage of the low value of my units there and get very positive trades. And the anti-air is not able to protect everything. So I'm definitely down in unit count. Max has just kind of got more infantry around at this point, but I'm doing really nicely in unit value as I've started to go into just teched up units, while Max's income has been now lagging behind by quite a bit, so it's harder to keep up with that, especially because Max doesn't have the option of building artillery. Well, it does have the option of building artillery, but the artillery are a lot weaker. There's going to be a trade of an anti-air for the copter, which is fine with me. It means that my bomber is more free to do whatever it wants to do. Bring in another mech, APC back at it. So I'm going to, since there's only one anti-air left here, I'm assuming there might be a fighter on the way, so I'm going to build an anti-air prophylactically. Either way, there'll be some more units built. Oh yes, like I was saying earlier on, CatWithYarn was a little sentimental with these low health infantry, which you don't usually want to do because the game could be over by the time that those infantry in the back lines get fully healed. They do, they drain a tiny bit of money, but they do drain money from you, and instead they could be used as blockers. So at this point, Chloe's kind of backing up. I'm just going to go for a victory march to take 4 cities. Because army composition wise here, CatWithYarn is kind of being pressured into having to deal with tech ups. So I'm pretty sure my army will be just fine to weather the combat storm. I'm gonna lose a lot of forward infantry, but I think I'm strong enough to be fine, thanks to the bomber and the medium tanks and all that fun stuff. Here, CatWithYarn is gonna resign, but goes for some fancy attacks here with the double sacrifice infantry strike to get a damage on the medium tank. And GG. Now, CatWithYarn was playing multiple games at the same time, but you got to see some pretty good max attacks. There was just a few overextensions. The center attack worked really well for CatWithYarn, but yeah, moving a little too close to the bases was dangerous. GG's. Okay. Here we go. We got ajwf versus thenightsshadow. It's Tornado Road. Tier 2 fog. I imagine this is probably a tournament game then. Irritates you don't know why. The best tier 2 matchup, no Olaf. No Olaf, no mirror. I was also healing an infantry on the back city. It's true, but that infantry had another infantry to fight. It's a Sami infantry. It's fine. You like how last game had a dragon in Sami? It was a good game of war groove. Well, we've got Caesar here. Let's see how these guys go about this. Capture right away, just go for some immediate money. So neither player is going to go for super fast transport copter, which is okay. No early recons. Just gonna go for a tank on the. No, this is the. Oh, this is not. No. This is the 2 base size. It's definitely a little bit early of a tank. From this base in particular. I think you want 1 more infantry to get all the captures you want. The plan might be to try and deny the comm tower. Looks like both players went for the same opening there with the tank on this base. We'll see if the tank gets anything done, or if it could have been delayed 1 turn. So just to get slightly better income going. Well, if it manages to interrupt this comm tower, that's at least something. Especially if we get an artillery lock on it. Okay. This is definitely a little bit risky to do. Because while you do interrupt this, if Max has a tank, you're going to be just so sad. Getting smacked from the comm tower. Or even just next to it, and the comm tower keeps capturing to me. But Max does reveal... Well, Max doesn't have a tank here. And there is the tank revealed over here for interrupt. Which is pretty decent. Now, the interrupt on this city has a more immediate impact than the interrupt on this comm tower, in that it's going to deny income. But the comm towers on this map can be very, very contested, so this could potentially mean that this comm tower just never gets captured. And that would have a stronger effect overall, of course. There was a major buffer. There was a disconnect 8 minutes, but mighty bold of Max to go for this comm tower. There's, some vehicle backup. We do have the anti-air to expectation of a copter from Eagle, which makes sense to me. Ooh, you're gonna use the infantry. I would not have expected that. The infantry being used to interrupt the comm tower rather than the recon. So the recon grants more vision, but now since this is injured, there's only a single infantry over here that can capture the comm tower from full health, and it's the one that's kind of been put forward rather precariously. This guy can come back and help out. Oof, really unfortunate that this artillery isn't actually covering this tank on the comm tower. Yeah. I would really like it if the artillery was able to actually guard the units here. That's okay. It's just a little bit out of range. Works out nicely though. This artillery does get to take this shot. And this infantry somehow is untouched. It might be that Max didn't watch the replay. Okay, I'm going to build a nice defensive line here. I probably would have used an infantry in this case, but it's okay. The artillery should be able to defend this pretty well. Okay, artillery fire, low health infantry, and then the recon attacks. We go for the comm tower capture, okay. That should, in theory, protect the recon, except this tank can actually... You'd really like it for the artillery to be in this forest here. It's possible that Max thinks it's there, because I would also be able to hit this infantry over here. And it wasn't actually revealed to be here. Oh, can I get smacked? Okay, Max is very, very convinced it's not here, so. Good on Max. Definitely a little dangerous to have the anti-air out and exposed. There should definitely be a backup anti-air built right now. It isn't. So what could happen is that one tank strike, one copter strike, and the anti-air dies, and then suddenly you just can't really fight here cost effectively anymore. Because there's nothing to deal with the copter attacking all the tanks. Well, yeah, I'm not super thrilled about where the artillery is going to be because it's not guarding the tank. The max recon harassment's getting some work done. We're actually even in income, but these two cities did get interrupted, and Max's cities are kind of getting captured unopposed. It looks like the anti-air getting away and healing is huge. It's one of the oh my gosh, this is such a greedy play by Max. So what's happening here is that this artillery already has 2 targets. So Max is like, well, it's free to come in because the artillery, you know, sorry, I'm just overloading the artillery. But it suddenly becomes much less free when you just get trapped on a road. Nice tank strikes here. Anti-air hits this tank, and I assume we're gonna have the recon finish it off. Yeah, could have had the infantry strike and then the recon trying to go for one of these infantries. It's not that huge. The anti-air's pretty safe. It's getting to chill in the forest. I would like this infantry to move probably onto this city. You want to make it as annoying as possible to reveal and hit your anti-air. Max does have a power here. The recons are getting some really good harassment in. It does look like Eagle managed to deny this comm tower for the whole game. On the flip side, there's a certain danger of losing this comm tower to Max in exchange, and Max's pressure on these cities is paying off dividends. It's a little gutsy to move this tank into these woods, though. Whoa, whoa. Don't use the tank to make that reveal. If you want something to go here, then you can use an infantry that can't do anything else. Or you can use the recon to go here if you want something to reveal the forest and give you some more vision of the battlefield. This tank has things it would like to do, such as attack. I guess the idea is like the tank is durable enough that it won't die in one hit, but it's also not being guarded by the artillery there. The artillery is getting guarded by these copters anyway. I mean, there's a 4 health infantry on that side. Okay, this artillery is in a much better spot. This is a hotly contested property that Max would really like to keep. Medium tank could go in, of course, to stop it, but that'd be painful. Okay, we have the max power. Recon clears the way. Tank hits from the city. The artillery does manage to live, though. The copter, such as the power of repairing them. That tank gets bopped. There's still a pretty good number of copters here and some tank backup, so it's kind of actually just fine for Eagle. Because here comes the super, something Max doesn't seem to be playing around too much. You have to be very careful about attacking it when the super is coming. Right now, Max is pretty happy at being up 4k. For instance, this medium tank does know about this artillery, and something to always keep in mind against Eagle is when the super comes around, indirects get to move and shoot. So you don't want to be getting too close to those artillery there with your nice expensive medium tanks. Doggo power go indeed. Is the stream acting up again? Looks like it did 4 minutes ago. I don't know why it's doing it intermittently so much. Lab cap for dominance indeed. Okay. Wow. Okay, that's just a mistake from the Nightshadow. Unless you're not going to use the Eagle super, which I don't know why you wouldn't, because there's some prime targets here. But yeah, you're not gonna. If you have a choice between shooting 2 infantry with your artillery and shooting a medium tank, you're gonna go shoot the medium tank. Whoa! Someone just launched a firework off. You're scared of the backup units. Well, that's something to keep in mind is when a max uses the power and hits you with a bunch of stuff, there's not going to be very many backup units left. Well, pretty much all the units just get sent forward. You're playing scared that turn. Not quite sure why the copter's just kind of moving straight forward into this anti-air. Oh, because we are doing the lightning strike. Oh, it's very sad artillery. We might be able to just get a surround on the medium tank, maybe. But yeah, the top looking pretty darn good. Probably should join cap this. I'm not sure why it's being left at captured with 3 health infantry. It just moves on up here. Doesn't actually get the kill. Oh, because there's no comm tower, of course. So the super could definitely have been a little bit better, but it still worked out. Tank clears recon. He goes for capture on the city. Here, Max just has to kind of back off. Really unfortunate for Max is even like the power being up did increase the defense, which let some units live at 1 health, but it also meant Max got no charge from that Eagle super. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I definitely don't recommend attacking units in base range. That's just a straight up overextension. Looks like we're now going to do a join cap on comm tower. This is kind of similar. For one, this isn't actually a trap on the medium tank, and also it's placing units in range at the base, which I do not like. Unless you've got an overwhelming numbers. Yeah, Max Wars makes a lot of sense to me here. Poor anti-air. Top tower gets stopped. All these units are just a little too far forward. So Max gets a ton of great attacks. The artillery somehow gets out of this without being scratched, though. So it can at least shoot the medium tank if it wants to. It's pretty hard for artillery to run away, so it should probably just stay and shoot. Okay. So the overextension over here isn't punished too heavily. The tank does survive. We do get the first comm tower of the match to the Nightshadow's hands. Yeah, the artillery just decides to shoot the medium tank. It's a fine exchange. It's kind of 6,000 for 8,000, but you go down a unit. But at the same time, I don't think the artillery could actually get away if Max wanted to. Just kind of chase it down. Whoa, the medium tank. Yeah, it chases down even with 5 health. The medium tank so close to being able to hit it, but this forest is actually ruining the day. And this is some nice use of these low health units. Look how much value Max has to commit towards backwards tiles. Now, some of these did just kind of come off on by, but to kill like 800 value, we have a tank and a copter used. It's a huge difference. Rather than these units doing something else. So nicely done. Okay, definitely diving in a little close. I think this anti-air was revealed. At this point, it's time for the Nightshadow to start contemplate super. Surprised we didn't have a surround attempt on this medium tank since the medium tank's on its way, but it's okay. If the medium tank got any closer, then you just surround and build something to kill it. Yeah, down goes that copter. Sad day. There gets hit. I don't like charging in with copters on the offense because they get just so punished by anti-airs. I much prefer if they're used as a reactionary unit, especially against Eagle. Your 4 copters are just going to die. Max uses the force, but Eagle's on the dark side and just goes for the lightning strike. Let's see what you did there. So here we're going to have another Eagle Super. This time Max is doing a lot better when it comes to unit value, but not a lot better when it comes to positioning on some of these exposed units. There's the copter. Tank is taken out. The anti-air is right here. The artillery can move here and then shoot it on the lightning strike. It could be that the Nightshadow doesn't even use the lightning strike here, just because there isn't great vision of all the targets you'd like. But it's totally fine to use it. I'd probably be a little more aggressive with the recon, but if you just want to see the medium tank. A little weird to go for the copter strike rather than the tank strike, but it's okay. There are these units. Again, I don't really like charging forward with copters in Fog of War in particular, but that's still a pretty nice cleanup of everything that was pushed forward by Max. We do have a Max Super, or just, okay, we had a Max Super possible, but we do use the Max normal power. Wow, this copter survived. Wow. Okay, it's very gutsy for Max to charge in here. Ooh. So there was a decision by Max. Unfortunately, doesn't know what's in this tile, and it's just going to play it safe this time, assuming that it's occupied. The copter doesn't, or the tank doesn't, or the anti-air doesn't reach, but the copter over here reaches that tile. Very much just kind of throw your units at the opponent there. Oh, that hurt to see. So I think the Night Shadow just didn't watch the replay because I'm pretty sure this tank was revealed to be here before the recon died. So poor Neo tank. Going for the lab cap for dominance. Is nothing going to reveal this tank? It should be known about it. Hit the recon. Okay, infantry does reveal it. The artillery doesn't fire? No. It goes into the forest. It might be fine. I would definitely fire because you build a Neo tank and it covers it. When you're in the forest, it is pretty protected. Just by being in the forest and having infantry next to you, but the Neo tank doesn't actually hit the tiles next to it. It's this one. Okay, this artillery's been doing some work. Okay, so this is fine then. This Neo tank does get a nice target. Capture through here. And there goes after this poor tank. Okay, the artillery's going to get another shot on that city. Happy days. The Night Shadow. I was wondering if this Neo tank was going to go up here or down here. Looks like we're just going to clean out both of these tanks. And nice artillery shot. Some more pressure on this city up here. Really low on the tank component for dealing with the anti-airs over here. So Night Shadow's gonna back off. Double Neo tank has been revealed down here, so Max should feel pretty comfortable just kind of diving in here. Unfortunately, there's no recon available, so Max can't get great information on what should be attacked and where can be, or where is safe, I should say. There's no like dive in to kill this copter or anything like that. Interesting. Okay, we're gonna pester the medium tank with the copter. I'm not thrilled about the copter attacking from here. I'd prefer if it attacks from here, unless you have a lot of other follow-up units. Those tiles. You want to be closer to your reinforcements. This is a comm tower capture that Max interrupts every day. The problem that Eagle's going to run into is that the infantry are too far away to follow up the capture right away. So Max can just kind of hit this with infantry, and it doesn't super matter that there's two Neo tanks waiting in the back. If Max instead does something like Neo tank attack, infantry goes for the capture, then suddenly Max makes a huge blunder and the Neo tank just gets first struck down to oblivion. Okay, I think, the Neo tank is revealed to have moved down there. Oh, hopefully Eagle won't move into its range. This copter didn't even move. Okay, Neo tank very bravely just standing there. No vision of what's in the darkness. Or much cheaper units. It's definitely very dangerous to do that, especially against Eagle, who loves to do minor trades of units in order to get a super. A super threat going. Okay. Going straight into the max force here. Again, you gotta be really careful when you do this kind of thing, because Eagle's getting close to the third super. So you've got to make sure that when you're attacking in, you're kind of annihilating all of the threats that are going to potentially go back at you. That requires a lot of vision, but we've been a little bit rare on the recon. None of these units even moved. Well, it's very possible for Eagle to get 2 bars of charge, although there's no sacrifices available over here. So it's going to come down to whether or not this Neo tank gets figured out here. And nothing's going to check, so it's fine. It's a little weird to leave this anti-air exposed. Actually goes for the strike there on the tank. I have a copter try and follow it up. Definitely could have been worse for Max, although it's still kind of sticking around over here is mighty gutsy. Okay, now Eagle's going to get the super and pretty much just wipe everything out. Recon didn't spot any. I guess this anti-air is just on the hunt for a copter. It might dive all the way down here. I don't know why Max's... I guess Max's Neo tank is hiding here, way back here, just because of the lightning strike. So that's pretty long way to be hiding back there. We have the artillery set up with a nice target. This is what you want, the lightning strike. So it can either move and shoot on the second action, or it gets 2 good shots. In this case, it got 2 good shots, both on Neo tanks. Definitely a little awkward with these anti-airs. They'll probably be okay. Max resigns. I think that's a pretty fair resign. You know, going through 3 Eagle supers is real rough. And indeed, Eagle was able to deny this comm tower throughout the entire game. So well done, well done. Next we have Crawfy versus Habits. To not be afraid of the dark. Yeah. It can be scary. I can understand that. Oh my gosh, Habits must have been out for blood. If you don't know, Habits mains Gray Sky. And Crawfy took Gray Sky from Habits. Okay, we're gonna have a Fred here. I know, shots fired. Would I say that Javier is a better matchup for Sturm on this map than Hawke? I think that Javier is absolutely insane to pick on this map. I think these comm towers are way too vulnerable. Like, sure, in theory, you could get double comm tower, but what's going to happen is that they're they're happy to just deny both comm towers, and so no one gets them, or they're going to try and get both of them. Like if you don't get a comm tower, you are so sad as Javier. If your opponent doesn't get a comm tower, they're just fine. And Sturm is amazing at denying comm towers, so this is a real rough matchup for Javier. Like, how do you even cope with the sheer number of recons that can harass all of your infantry? And yes, for some reason the double labs are just right next to each other. Now, Havitz has had a lot of practice fighting Sturm, because Reimer has played a lot of games with Havitz as Sturm. So Havitz is going to know, is going to have some very first-hand experiences with dealing with some recon harassment. It's probably going to go with a ton of recon spam. Okay, so the labs do nothing, but because there's no HQ on this map, normally you lose if you lose your HQ. If there's no HQ and there's labs, then you lose if you have 0 labs. They're like a substitute, but they don't give any income. They do provide vision though, if you own them. If we weren't playing in if we were playing on like the Chinese competitive scene, then they'll have lab units. In that case, usually they have the Neo tank and the bomber and the stealth as the lab units, and you can only build them if you own a lab. But that's not something that Global League or our tournaments tends to do. Some of the wackier tournaments will do it. You can make any unit a lab unit. But in this case, they're just substitutes for HQs. They don't produce income, and it's if you have 0 labs, you'll lose the game. Where if you have multiple HQs, it's if you lose any HQ. Yeah, there's a different Chinese competitive scene. So a lot of the Fog Global League maps that you see labs on, that's because those maps were made for that scene. But they just don't get the lab unit. The lab unit in Global League. Yeah, whenever you create a game, you can choose whatever units you want to have banned or be lab units. Ooh, Havitz goes for a base skip to get more recons out. Love to see it. This APC and mech opener is pretty interesting by Crawfy. I think the idea is that the mech can maybe fight off the recons as the APC rushes it towards the comm tower. The problem is that the mechs don't really fight off the recons, and they do have a huge downside that can often be overlooked, and that's that you can't use infantry to join a mech. So if a mech starts capturing a property and you have other infantry around that could if this was an infantry capturing, they hit you, you capture again and just join cap. You can't do that if you have a mech and infantry. The mech is just hosed at whatever health and total it's been put to. So while it will strike back at the recons at a strong with a stronger kick, it will lose a lot of the capture threat to it, the not being able to join cap with infantry. But this is an APC kind of rush up to here. So we'll see if Havitz spots it, and Havitz does. And look at that. Look at the insane movement that Sturm gets. 1 turn, 2 turns. Can already interrupt the comm tower. It's like, how on earth does Javier even get one? For those that don't know, all of Sturm's units have quote-unquote perfect movement, which means they spend 1 movement point regardless of the terrain type, assuming it's a legal terrain. And Sturm's units have minus 20% attack, plus 20% defense. Units are much more durable, but they are slightly weaker. However, defense is a far stronger stat than offense, so it's a trade that pretty much anyone would be very happy to make. And here's the mech. It's going for the capture. Athos should basically have no fear of this. You can just send 2 recons in there, even if one takes like down to 6 health or whatever. It's fine. See, this is knocked down to 2. If this is an infantry, well, in this case, there's no infantry backup. But if there was infantry backup, you would cap again to knock this down to 8 capture points, and then join to go up to 10. And then in theory, you'd have like backup to smack this stuff. But in this case, it was just a sneaky play, hoping beyond hope that the Sturm recons wouldn't find him. Yeah. And 3 recons guarding the other tower. It's exactly right. That's exactly right. So Javier, for those who don't know, he has, I guess, 2 day-to-days. He has the day-to-day of getting plus 20% defense against indirects, which is pretty nice. And then his other day-to-day is his day-to-day, and his superpower triples it. Increases the number of comm tower counts you essentially have. It doubles it with normal power and triples it with your super, because he does get the extra attack as well. But the indirect defense isn't the best thing in this kind of matchup where you just kind of get swarmed by direct units. Although Sturm does like the indirects. They have a very high base damage. And he often offsets their slower movement by giving them that perfect movement type. And this makes Javier very sad. Oh, but yeah. So if Javier never gets a comm tower, he doesn't get anything out of these normal or superpowers or his day-to-day other than indirect defense. Which, as you might imagine, is not enough to deal with Sturm. Or most COs at tier 1, which are mighty strong, because you're basically a vanilla CO. You're not quite, like you do have the extra indirect defense, but you're basically a vanilla. Okay. And something to keep in mind for all of these fights is that Sturm, sure, probably could have gotten that comm tower, but it's okay. There's no real rush. Just shoot the recon next turn is fine. Sturm's defense, Habits went for a very fancy recon move. The idea here is that it makes it look like the recon ran off over here, judging by the vision range, and instead it swoops back into this forest. Surprise, surprise. But the Sturm's defense boost from his day-to-day is a flat plus 20% defense. So it doesn't scale with health like terrain stars do, which is Ank. Oh, back in for a second there. But lots of little disconnects there. Like that. Okay, so then it gets 15% defense total. The it's just super disconnecting. It's connecting. Is that their Sturmer lag? Exactly. Exactly. Okay, I'm gonna finish up the game and then call the stream there. Internet be acting up. But yeah, at this point, Javier can't really do much. Because, I mean, no comm towers, fallen behind massively in income, as you will against Sturm. Sturm gets the comm tower. Sturm's got like all the vision on the map due to the recon spams. The recons deny the comm towers. They also give all the information about where Javier's units are due to granting vision. They also give income leads by doing harassment. Here, Havitz is going to get both comm towers. Here's Fred. Fred made it all the way across the map to get a capture. And yeah, at this point, there's really not much that crawfy can do. Down in income. No comm towers as Javier. And Sturm doesn't really even have to go in for the kill at this point. Just kind of keep collecting up properties and make sure that the comm towers never fall. Crawfy kind of has to try to like all in a certain comm tower. But it's really difficult to do that against Sturm in particular. Because these recons are so fast and they don't beat your attacking army. They just have to hit all of your infantry that are coming in. In this scenario, would get a missile here. You could get a missile as Havitz if you really wanted to, but I mean the copters do have the increased indirect defense still, so it's not a huge deal to do so. I'm a little surprised that are too much, but because every point of defense matters more than the previous point, getting another plus 10% power defense going from plus 20% to plus 30% can make a very large impact for the survivability of Sturm's units. And yeah, it's kind of like, as you can see, no one really cares about what's happening in the center. It's all about the comm towers. Here's Fred. And Javier having to try and batter through a Sturm who's got the same attack value right now as Javier, but 20% more defense and a power that actually does something. Well, I mean, the Javier power does something. It does give you the plus 10 of just having a power active, and it increases the indirect defense, of course. The rocket in there to the real do very little damage this turn. But that's okay, because there's plenty of other units to go for attacks. And they're happy to just kind of eat away at the remnants of Javier's forces. Right now, Sturm ended that turn double in unit value. And Crawfy's just trying to get a comm tower. But this is why it's just miserable to play as Javier against Sturm, especially on a map that has such contested comm towers. Even on ones where the comm towers are only slightly contested, Sturm can mess with you just because of how fast those units are. Okay, we've now entered into the full-on all-in on this side. Oof, which did run into the problem. The units are all grouped up. Havitz just hits them with a meteor. Yeah, it's definitely GG. All of them get wiped out. We're at 15 units to 46, quadruple. The Crawfy has resigned. Havitz bullying. GG. Sometimes CO matchups are like that. A stag wipe. I know they all got destroyed. It's very difficult to play against Sturm, especially on this map. Didn't even move the tank out of meteor range. No. It took the hit like a champ. So GG. I'm going to call the stream there. We're being plagued by some lag spikes. I hope everyone enjoyed. I should have another stream going on Wednesday. I leave you with this lovely, lovely apple. I hope everyone enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.
It's Go7, king of the penguins. Of all the penguins, he is king. It's Go7, king of the penguins. Being king of the penguins, that's his thing.